Thanks, Lindsay. Welcome back to Senate Education. We're going through a new draft, pretty close to our final draft of the library bill, 1.2.
Draft 1.2.
And I think if you would take us through it all, you don't mind, this is our final, maybe close to final walkthrough. Do you mind sort of taking us line by line a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Tucker Anderson, Legislative Counsel. You have in front of you the committee's amendment to S220. We're going to be working through draft 1.2. Starting in section 1. Sections 1 and 2 are going to relate to the selection and retention of library materials. Section 1 amends 22 VSA, section 67, to state that one of the goals is to ensure that Vermont libraries protect and promote the principles of free speech, inquiry, discovery, and public accommodation. It is necessary that the trustees, managers, or directors of free public libraries adopt policies that comply with the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and state and federal civil rights and anti-discrimination laws. This is an expression of intent for purposes of the chapter that section 67 sits in to describe the need for the policies at the free public libraries. Moving into section 2.
I have
Yeah, please. Yep.
to that, but should we wait till?
Oh, no, go ahead. Tell us where you're at, where you're thinking.
Well,
right now.
so
Let's go.
I did have school libraries reach out to me.
Mhm.
I think would this be where we add it?
Certainly could add it here.
Okay,
We would likely need to call out what school libraries are captured because within this chapter, the term public library is defined.
they just would like a school library material selection policy explicit in 220 if possible. So, and I can share the language with Dr. Mr. Anderson, if that's okay with you all. Would you like me to read it right now?
Yeah, why don't you read it and
Alright.
see what it says?
So, it would add to, chapter 1624 of
Mhm.
BSA, section 1, 16 BSA. Section, wait, I'm sorry, the lingo is still something I have a hard time with. Subsection 1624.
It's
Subsection.
so, thank you, Senator Sheen.
Sorry.
And
All right, let's just forget about that. Each school board and each approved independent school shall develop, adopt, ensure the enforcement of, and make available in the manner described under subdivision 5631 of this title, a library material selection policy and procedures for the reconsideration of materials. The policy and procedures shall affirm the importance of intellectual freedom and be guided by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the American Library Association's Freedom Bill of Rights, Library Bill of Rights, and Freedom to Read Statement, and Vermont's Freedom to Read Statement. So this is just kind of
And
codifying.
does that mean we have to take testimony from all the Ds on this now? Only because we really should vote it tomorrow.
Right.
I'm not opposed, it's going down the hall for a while, I'm not opposed to it being amended along the way, but
I mean,
can we hold up by not including it right this second?
sure.
We'll just keep, I think, now that we sort of know what the issue is, see how controversial it is. I don't think it's controversial at all, but Ms. Delnaire, did you want to say something about this?
Sure, I think that this is something the department would support, but using the same language that is in place for the public libraries, which covers the same principles.
Okay.
The department's not supportive of listing nonprofit entities outside the state that can change their policies, so.
Did that list not pop in, please?
I think the school library,
Oh,
the
oh,
school
I-
library proposed language, which I know came directly from the school librarians, but the department would recommend that we refer to existing laws and not to the Bill of Rights, just because it has changed over the years and it's more proactive, in the opinion of the working group and the department, to go with the principles of intellectual freedom that are specific to the First Amendment and the public accommodation law in Vermont and the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
So you would suggest small c, just incorporating our public and independent schools into that language, correct?
Using the same language in the appropriate place, it's a little tricky because the collection, development, retention section, I think, falls in the public library subsection. Probably not referring to those sections and subsections properly, but it falls in the public library area, and I think that Ledge Council would be able to point us to a place to put the school. And I would say, why not academic libraries that are publicly funded as well? We're talking about school.
I totally get it. I get it. It just means UVM, everybody comes in.
I
I'm
know.
just a little worried that we're getting late. And I almost would rather have people work on it and we can amend it in approach or on the floor. If that's okay, Senator Hewitt.
That's totally fine.
Just thinking about AVIC, they're all gonna have to come in and say, we're gonna get into the universities. So I'd say just hold for now. If Senator Hewitt wants to work on some open language, then we can bring it down to approach. Does that feel okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, still within this subject area, moving into section 2, this adds a new section 69 to title 22, governing the selection and reconsideration of library materials at the free public libraries. The public library shall adopt a policy for the selection and reconsideration of library materials that complies with the First Amendment, Civil Rights Act of 1964, and state laws prohibiting discrimination in places of public accommodation. So that's the mandate that a policy be adopted that's compliant with state and federal law. And then the next sentence is discretionary. Public library may adopt as its policy a model policy adopted by the Department of Libraries. And section 3 in the bill is introduced. And in draft 1.1 was that section 606. But as you will see when we get to the end of the bill, I put all of the department's authority that was scattered throughout the bill in one place again. So we'll touch on that in the last section. If you are ready, we're on page 2, by the way, section 3. This is the confidentiality of library records for minors. The amendment is in 22 VSA section 172 subdivision B4. It lowers the age from 16 to 12.
And that, someone just remind me, so I think I'm just wrong for it, that is current policy coming out of. It's consistent with other policy that health and welfare, I know that's on the books now in terms of what? Well, I'm just wondering first from Ledge Council, the 12 wasn't just pulled out of the air. What is it kind of aligning with?
It's 18 VSA 426.
Is he right?
I believe that the
Well-
senator is correct. And the age,
Totally, give him that.
Well,
Like, totally.
I'm totally, yeah,
It's like, yeah, that's impressive. Yeah.
well, I speak to my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
there are actually, I think, 2 statutes in Title 18 where care can be acquired starting at the age of 12. And the reason that this age is here is not directly because of those statutes, but because this was the age reviewed by the working group as the appropriate age for confidentiality of records, specifically in this case from public libraries. School libraries are separate and are governed by federal law, specifically for parental and guardian access to library records under FERPA.
Serious.
Oh, no, this is pity that.
Yeah. it's not what was- Anything else on that right now? Okay. Public safety.
Public safety, this section amends 13 VSA section 1702 to add public libraries to the list of locations within the criminal threatening statute. So a person who commits criminal threatening and that is making a threat that places any person in reasonable apprehension that death, serious bodily injury, or sexual assault will occur at, in this case, moving on to page 3, a public library shall be imprisoned not more than 2 years or fined not more than $2,000. This covers the gap between public libraries that are municipal buildings that are already covered by the statute and public libraries that would not be considered municipal buildings because they are association libraries that are publicly funded but are not municipal facilities.
Looking at the vice chair of judiciary, wondering, because clearly since we're pulling public libraries in, you guys will likely want to see it, have to see it. how long you think?
Well, I mean, it is,
I mean, you know the room there better than I,
it is changing a crime,
yeah,
so,
there's,
I mean, I feel like it's so, there's a part of me that wants to say it's fine, but I don't wanna overstep with
Yeah.
what the chairman. wants.
right,
So I think,
so we can keep it in and
Sure.
it may go down the hall after, this might make a couple of steps.
I got a problem with polling place, except that from a constitutional standpoint, except a lot of polling places are schools.
So
Well,
polling
yeah.
place, right,
That already takes that into consideration.
well, I appreciate the comment, polling places are current law, right?
That is
Yeah,
correct.
so we are only adding
Okay.
public libraries,
Okay,
but,
okay, disregard.
oh, yeah, okay, that's fine, please go ahead.
The next sections are the library governance sections. There were 4 of them in the bill as introduced. This has been pared down to 2 sections that are gonna go amend specifically the governance models in statute for trustee libraries and managed and directed libraries overseen by boards. The 2 sections that dealt with the establishment and appropriations for municipal libraries pulled out because the only remaining amendments that were in the bill were very minor technical corrections, and it didn't fit within this section anymore. If the committee has the desire to go back and technically correct those sections, I can put them back in. But you had removed the substantive policy decision around the appropriations for municipal libraries, so I would put them. Section 5 amends 22 VSA section 105. So that this will now read, most of this is existing law, by the way, this is just clarifying this. That the trustees, managers, and directors shall, and in the new subdivisions 2 to 4, adopt bylaws and policies governing the operation of the library, establish the budget, hold regular meetings, and ensure compliance with the terms of any funding, grants, or bequests. This language reflects what exists in the next statute get into governing trustees. So we're there now, page 4, section 6 amends 22 VSA section 143. In subsection A, language is moved into this subsection from later on in section 143, stating that when trustees are first chosen, they shall be elected or appointed to staggered terms. Subsection B, subdivisions 1 through 6. The Board of Trustees shall have the power to manage any property that shall come into the hands of the municipality by gift, purchase, devise, or request, adopt policies governing the operation of the library, establish a library budget, hold regular meetings, and ensure compliance with the terms of any funding grants requests. Same language you saw before. Subsection C, there's clarification here. There's been conflict in the past between who has authority over library directors at these libraries.
Where's the line you want?
We are on line 12, subsection C, it's on page 5. So, absolutely. Okay. So a line here, library director shall be under the supervision and control of the library board of trustees. This clarifies moving forward that this is a position that is under the library board, not the legislative body of the municipality. Okay. All right, moving into the section on the Department of Libraries. These discrete pieces of authority were scattered throughout the bill as introduced and in the last draft you saw. So for ease of seeing what the department's going to be doing moving forward, I put them all together in section 7. This amends 22 VSA section 606. To amend first, we're on page 6 now, subdivision 5. State that the department shall provide a continuing education program for a certificate of public librarianship and shall conduct seminars, workshops, and other programs to increase the professional competence of librarians in the state. As we discussed in the bill as introduced, this certificate in public librarianship program already exists. These are continuing education and professional development programs that the department is already offering.
Okay.
Subdivision 8, a duty is struck, and that is the duty for the department to be the primary access point for state information.
And Ms. Del Neo, that's because it just, what did you say, when you testified on this section, it was not happening, it's,
Sure.
when it's asked on the floor, what should we say?
Catherine Delnau, State Librarian. That duty has been taken over by others within the state. The department is not reviewing all of the website contact, nor is it serving as a point of information or a switchboard for state information services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nine.
Subdivision 9, this was formerly within the selection and retention language. This grants discretionary authority to the department to develop model policies concerning displays, meeting room use, patron behavior, internet use, materials reconsideration, and other relevant topics to ensure substantive compliance with the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and Vermont laws prohibiting discrimination.
Did you get your, that's your language?
Oh, the next one.
The next paragraph. Okay, thank you. Subsection 10,
Subdivision 10,
subdivision.
the department shall adopt a collection development policy that reflects Vermont's diverse people and history, including diversity of race, ethnicity, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability status, religion, and political beliefs. This subdivision was reorganized to match how the state curators collection development is built in statute, and religion and political beliefs were added as two of the call-outs of examples of Vermont's diversity.
And that matches, like you said, the curator, this language. I think it's great. Yeah,
It's not meant to be, exclusive,
It's not exhaustive.
exhaustive.
Yeah.
It's meant to be,
Example. Aspiration.
So clear.
we're gonna drop that. Thanks for doing that. This is good. Great.
And then finally, a new subdivision 11 is added to authorize the department to develop best practices and guidelines for public libraries and library service laws. July 1st effective date.
So I don't wanna close out your question and your thing at all. My only thing is, I also have to vote it tomorrow.
Right.
And then,
Agree with both.
so two things could happen. We could do a committee amendment. You know, because it's gonna probably be a couple weeks between approach and everything. We could also, since we are getting this Lenny's education, bill, we could put something on that. The other thing is, we could have the house student section. Or if you really sleep on it, you really feel like you want it in this, just bring some more language and try to figure something out. And I hope that's not the one you choose, but that's okay. Yeah,
The
whatever.
open language?
Yeah, well, or I mean, doing it tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I won't
Okay.
use that one. I don't see why you couldn't do a committee amendment on a floor. We'll just, or send it to the house, I will.
Yeah, no, if we do a committee amendment on the floor, because what I could ask Jane to do is hold it.
Yeah.
All our bills will be out, and once all our bills are out, we're waiting for the house bills, we could take a couple days of hearing. from people.
Yeah, I also think the house would be amenable to adding it, so I think it's probably fine. I'll do some research.
Any other questions on this? Otherwise, do you need to do any tidying up language?
Everything is set, and I sent a clean copy to Morgan earlier that I believe is posted.
How are you guys feeling about it?
I'm still troubled by 12-year-old. Lacking cognitive supervision. And we heard yesterday, I think pretty clearly from DCF that there are procedures to address abusive families. I don't think we need to legislate filter. That's just where I am. So I'm a no.
Yeah,
Right now, the bill though, it's a great bill. Yeah. Okay, get it, but I have trouble with that.
We're in the same. So you'll vote against it. Yeah, no, I just know it. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so we'll vote this today, at the end of the day. Just, if you could just, so I guess the thing is, get a nice new clean copy of that though.
Okay, that is one.
Well, actually, if you're not gonna, it's just mine is messy, right? It's I wrote on it, so.
Mine's
it's clean.
fine.
Mine's fine as well. Alright, so before we go, we'll vote on it. Unless you think there's something else you'd want to hear from that might get you there, but it's in there. I just want to give you the opportunity. Okay,
I've been
I
listening,
completely understand.
I've been listening for 2 months.
But, you know, one of the committees, it's like, if it's in statute, why do we need to put it in?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Right, it's in statute related to health and welfare laws. This would expand it to, okay. We'll vote it later.
Yeah, I was gonna add, I was misunderstanding calendars earlier with 191. I'm fine with voting on it today. Presenting it on the floor the day we get back. Yeah, I misunderstood the notice.
Great,
thing.
great, so we'll do that also. So it'll be a notice tomorrow.
Yes.
And it'll be up, great. Thanks so much, Doctor.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
thank you, Ms. Del Neo. You're gonna get that trophy. Seriously,
Oh,
that was a huge help.
I would love the trophy,
Yeah.
just the honor of thinking about it.
Not today, but at some point, you forget one.
Thank you.
I mean, let's take 5 minutes before the Attorney General comes in on S 120. And if I could, Ms. Koenig,